Hello and welcome back. Well, the U.S. administration surprised absolutely nobody in the world yesterday, July 1st, 2026, in not renewing the CUSMA, USMCA, MUSCA, whatever you want to call it, agreement, the old NAFTA. Well, what this basically means is that the agreement is still in effect, but it's going to be reviewed and renewed every year. They're going to come up with some kind of different thing that they want their way. And what basically this turns out to be is that the economies of all three countries, as well as other nations around the world, is going to be handcuffed, because big business does not invest unless they have certainty. And certainty means long-term rules that they're going to have to live by, and that's not going to happen because the habitually lying, morally inept, narcissistic psychopath that lives there doesn't want certainty. He wants to be able to throw chaos into it at any moment, and that is not good for business. Now, the U.S. companies that bring things in from other countries to sell are paying tariffs. Yes, they are paying tariffs. I know a lot of you finally figured this out, but there's a lot that still haven't figured it out. So if I'm a U.S. business and I buy widgets for $1, well, now they're costing me $1.15, $1.50, $1.75, depends on where he feels he wants to do it today. Now what happens is, if I'm the U.S. importer, I'm not gonna buy a lot of these things. I'm gonna buy a lot less because I'm paying more. Therefore, you get less choice of goods. And you're paying more, because there's no way I'm paying the extra 15% because the big feller says so. Now, I know that when he even had admitted that the importers are paying the tariffs, he's decided they're not going to forward them on to the general public, and that is incorrect. Like so many other things we do every day down there. So what this basically means is, as I say, there's going to be yearly reviews, and there's going to be side deals, because, well, he's already talking to Mexico and they're into negotiations. Canada is not really got there yet, because we're going to hold our ground. Like our Prime Minister says, we're not going to sign a bad deal. We could have a bad deal anytime we want. That's not going to happen. So it's just going to strangle the economies. And it's not just the economies of the U.S. Like, yes, I say the U.S. importers are paying the extra tariffs, so they're not going to buy as many things. But it hurts our economies in that, because the U.S. importers aren't going to buy as many. They can't afford to, because they're spending 15, 25, 75% more for the goods. They can't afford that. That's why the U.S. public is going to be paying those tariffs. The sooner you get it through your head, the better. Now, the Canadian and Mexican governments have stated, we're good with it. We want to get this deal renewed for the next 16 years. The Canadian Ministry of whatever, Dominic LeBlanc, and the Mexican Marcelo Ebrard, they both stated, we want the agreement renewed. We want it because we've been dealing the last year and a half with somebody holding the throat of the economies of all North America and a lot of European countries too. It is affecting everybody's business. Now, on top of that, he's decided to do this little thing in the Strait of Hormuz with Iran because, of course, he did. Who knows why? There's rumors that somebody else told him to. And we know a lot of people are telling him things that aren't completely accurate or good for the general public. But that's what he wants to do. Now, the other option he had was to pull out of the CUSMA agreement altogether. Now, he hasn't done that, and that is because he knows that if that happened, that would be the nuclear effect. That would basically shut down a lot of, the North American economies and screw up the other countries overseas as well. Now, that would finally get through to his base that he's not playing with a full deck. So I believe that Jamieson Greer, who's the American stooge in charge of all the negotiations and that, I think he knows what is going on, but I think he's also a yes man. He's just going along with it because he's a rich guy. He's not going to have to try and scramble and scrounge enough money next month to be able to feed the kids. They're not having these issues. They don't care if gasoline is, petrol, whatever you want to call it, oil is $200-300 a barrel, and then whatever that equates to at the pump. It doesn't matter to them because they're set. They can do it. But then there's the other people like Lutnick and Navarro. They're just greedy scum of the earth. My words, not anybody else's. But, I'm pretty sure there's other people who believe that too. But them, I think, they are more of the problem of skeletons in their closets. We've already seen some of Lutnick's come to the forefront. So these people are, let's say, in the group, in the batch of people that your big guy is trying to protect. You know what I mean there. And that's all he's gonna do. They'll go along with anything because at this point it doesn't matter to them. They're the elite. They're the 1%. They're the people who don't have any issues. They're the people who, if they break their arm tomorrow, they're not going to go bankrupt. So that they're staying at home when they get sick because they can't afford to go to the hospital. And then we all know those complications get worse. See, the healthcare and the education systems in the U.S. have been terribly, terribly underfunded for decades. This even goes back to before the orange poop clown had anything to do with it. So they've underfunded education. They have no medical system for all. They have, they can pay through the teeth if they want, and that's what they're doing. But that way they're only paying for themselves. They're not paying for everybody. Whereas in other countries around the world, everybody pays, and then who gets sick gets to use that money. If you don't get sick, okay. But you're also not, if you do get sick eventually and you need that money for something that's going to cost you $1,000 a month in medication for the rest of your life, it's covered. So I don't mind paying a little more in my taxes to have that safety net. There's no other word for it. That's what it is. And they've, meaning the U.S. administration, have, and I'm not just saying now's administration, I'm talking about administrations over decades. They just are taking all that money, and what goes on with the money that they're not spending on education and healthcare, it goes to the military establishments, the people who are making the bombs. That's who's getting all this money. And with that, also any of their friends, the 1%. That's where all that money's going. Figure it out. You're gonna have to, because that 1% is getting farther and farther away from the people who are being gaslit into thinking that everything's fine, everything's gonna be great, there's no problems whatsoever. Don't know where else to go with this. Sooner or later, everybody's gonna figure it out. Let's hope it's before the midterms. Thanks for watching. Please share, like, subscribe, leave a comment below. We'll catch you next time. Bye now.